Guys, actually, that was 2018 when you sang that. So I picked up the book that I'm currently reading. I do read once in a while. May not sound like it, but I do. And it's written by a Lutheran minister, and it's about his very first call that he had when he got out of divinity school, his first parish. Because I remember coming to my first parish, and I never left. And the first one is going to be the last one. But I was thinking of the guy who actually gave me the book, because the book obviously was not a bestseller. And so he had to search high and low to find another copy of it, so he found it and he sent it to me. And I'm thinking of Walt, because one day I went to visit Walt, where he lives in assisted living. And he told me about the book and about the story. And to me, Walt symbolizes what Christmas is all about this year. How Christmas is different, and yet the intensity of what Christmas means burns brightly in his soul. You know, Walt's in assisted living. He can't have any visitors, his wife, his kids, nobody, his minister, whatever. And Walt's a people guy. I mean, if my shoe was sitting on the floor, he'd talk to my shoe. He just loves to talk and to visit. So this pandemic thing is just eating him alive, because he's just a social kind of guy. But I realize that even though Walt's going to be alone for Christmas, like I'm sure some of your loved ones who maybe live in assisted living or wherever, or are not with you, Walt is not going to be alone. I mean, his wife will be there, and his kids will be there, and his pastor and his church will be there. It'll be spiritual. It'll be through prayer. But Walt will not be alone. And when I think of people like Walt, and maybe you think of somebody in your own family and friends, I do think of how different Christmas is going to be. And yet Christmas is about a child. Christmas is about a journey. It's about people, shepherds and wise men in search of a star. And every single day through this pandemic, I get up and I search for the star too. A star of meaning, a star of hope, a star of courage that'll get us through whatever we have to get through. And so, Walt, I know you're listening. The star shines on you today, and the star shines on each one of you, wherever you may be, Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Christmas may be different, but it will be real, intensely real. And you may feel a bit lonely this Christmas, but you'll never be alone, because the Christ child lives in the heart and soul of each one of us. So back to this book. So this young man, this guy had a PhD. Obviously, I don't have a PhD. And he got out of seminary, divinity school, and the bishop sent him to a small church way in southern Illinois, where kind of Illinois and Missouri meet. And in that town is basically farmers. People that have been in that church all their lives. And when he got there, he knew he was in trouble, because 75% of the people in the church had the same last name. And he's kind of a easygoing city liberal type. And so he's kind of wondering, why did the bishop send me here? And on the other side of the coin, the people in the congregation are thinking, wait a second. We're an agricultural community. Most of us just have a high school education, if that. And they're sending some liberal whippersnapper down here with his fancy robes, and he's going to try to tell us, who have been here all our lives, what to do about our church. And then something happened. He and his wife gave birth to their second child. And the baby was born very fragile and had to be in intensive care. And so the Sunday after his child's birth, he was in the pulpit, and he told the congregation about what happened. And he broke down and he cried. And he was so embarrassed. I can't cry in front of this group of people. And yet, when he cried, the congregation discovered his humanity and who he was. And then after church, as he greeted people as they left, the people were compassionate. They cared. They embraced him. And somehow, when his true humanity showed and their true humanity showed, It brought them together because they realized, yes, they're different, but they're bound together by the Spirit that brings them together. You see, when you can let your humanity out, when your humanity can be real, when you don't have to be embarrassed about who you are, then the barriers come tumbling down, and ministry and friendship can continue. You see, I'm lucky. I've been blessed with that for 46 and a half years. My humanity sometimes is pretty raw, and your humanity too. But the thing is, when we walk through the doors or the thing goes online, wherever you are, our humanity is what brings us together, as different as we may be on the outside. Because on the inside, there's a power of a good Lord and a humble carpenter that binds us together. So in the middle of a COVID-stricken world, which we're in the middle of uncertainty and unrest and all kinds of stress galore, my heart turns to each one of you, and my heart turns to Walt, because I realize that Christmas is going to be different this year, but the message burns inside each one of us, deeper and stronger than ever. Amen. If you're able to, please rise for the creed.